So, let me talk about Blade for a bit, boy. Or I should say Blade 2. Because yes, folks, Blade 2 will be turning 20 years old in a couple of days. We times recording here, March 22nd to be precise, right? So Ashton, this is Ashton's first time on a retrospect review. So don't worry, Ashton. We'll fill in. You'll know what to do. You'll know how to navigate and whatnot, right? But let's talk about Blade 2, man. This is of course the sequel to the 1998 film Blade, which was directed by Stephen Norrington, right? And what makes this film very interesting and why it is so significant as far as comic book movies go. This was like the first real successful attempt at taking a Marvel character and putting them on the big screen and doing them justice, right? Yeah, of course, this was like the first serious, black superhero as well too. Because remember, years back we had stuff like Blank Man and the Meteor Man, which were meant to be parodies of the superhero genre, right? It was jokey stuff, right? Robert Townsend, Damon Wayans. It was funny, right? Well, honestly, I still haven't. I haven't rewatched those shows. I've only seen those shows once. I have a feel if I watch both of them again, I will be cringing as hell, though.
Yeah,
especially Meteor Man. Ooh.
Both of them. I mean, both of them just is the two of them. Look, I like Damon Wayans and Robert Townsend, but yeah, they represent let us say they represent an earlier time.
Yes, they did. Although I mean, their impact to African American cinema can't be denied, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And also too, this was the well, I don't want to say the first, but I would say one of the first screenwriting gigs by a man by the name of David S. Goyer to be precise, right?
Yeah, I mean this is I say in defense of Goyer, right? How to defend Goyer, like even though he spit out some mess, like Batman v Superman and things like that, but he's a person that he has a specific role in Hollywood, especially pre-internet Hollywood, especially before we start to take comic book shit seriously and that kind of stuff. He had a purpose of what we call dumbing down a script. Like he's also involved in a little movie called Dark City, right? And the reason why he was brought on board is because it was confusing a lot of people. It was a little too confusing for many people, and that was interesting, right? Like his job is very specific as a specific. I don't know what to call it, but it's probably like a type of a script doctor in a sense, right? He serves that purpose. So it's interesting.
So just to talk quickly about Bleed, right? I'll never forget just seeing the trailers for this on TV, the teasers. I was excited for it. I remember going on the website and just watching trailers and stuff like that, right? I didn't see it theatrically. I'm not sure why. I think, well, I don't want to say I was too young, but I don't know. Just something came up and I just never got around to seeing it theatrically, right? But I saw it when it was... it came out, I think it was either USA or TNT. I think it was one of those two, right? Where I saw it, right? I dug the hell out of that movie, though. Wesley Snipes killed it, though. Stephen Dorff, though, who plays Deacon Frost, but he is a villain that you just love to hate. But like when it comes to villains that you just love to hate, just asshole villains, boy, he is up there, boy. Like you just like, you know what I mean? Like he's so detestable, but at the same time, it's like, I could see why you are the way he is, why you are the way you are, and I just love how they always contrast him with the elders and the Vampire Nation, all that kind of stuff. He was just this bad boy who just wanted to do whatever, you know what I mean? And it was like that, right? He was real cocky, right? But for me, just talking quickly about Blade, right? I just love how they showed this modern, I would say late 90s take on, the vampire genre, right? Because, back then you had Bram Stoker's Dracula, you had Interview the Vampire. They always made, vampirism to be like this sad thing, like, oh, I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life and I love you and I'm going to feed on you, right?
Yeah,
but here was like, oh, we immortal now, so let me just hit this nightclub and do that party till wherever. Let me just feed on humans because that's we food. This don't really matter. We mortal, bro. You know what I mean? I love that.
Not since Lost Boys or what was the name of that movie? Boy, that was kind of like Lost Boys that came out around that.
Near Dark.
Near Dark, right? Yeah. Yes. Yeah, something like that. Where I thinking about it in that same conceit of, yeah, this is how you're gonna, like, if you were to have vampires, this is what it probably would be like, kind of thing. They play with the kind of the borderline conspiracy theory stuff, and oh well, they exist, but they're really underground, and here's how, and they're basically like a borderline mafia, and that's how they should operate because it's like the mafia, kind of, right? And they play with it in really interesting and fascinating ways, I find. I mean, in the first film and the second film, and then they bring in the magic stuff because Blade is what is a halfling, well, daywalker.
Well, daywalker, as they call him, right?
But the whole point is that he's the only quote unquote stable daywalker, the only person who could be a daywalker and pull it off. And that has magical reasons and all kind of historical or it is legend. Yeah, and they set that up in a good comic book conceit. I have a lot of fun with that first film.
Me too.
It works. I saw that in Windsor, I think, with my dad.
Okay. Lucky you.
Right. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. This is pretty awesome.
Right. Yeah. So that's to finish up on Bleed and then jump into just quick thoughts on Bleed 2 and Trinity, right? Go. Yeah, I'll talk about Trinity, right? Yeah. So saw it on TV. Heard the you morbid freakers always trying to ice skate uphill. I was like, ugh. Right, and then when I saw what it was like, okay, I get, right? But just how much of a badass Wesley Snipes was, for me, because I mean, I didn't really see like I saw stuff like Passenger 57, years after it came out, right? But you never really saw him in like doing martial arts and swinging around that katana, right? But in this case, you saw that, right? And also the big sell for the movie too, for me, very subtle, but it also worked too, was the techno music, right? I remember that one track, Fat Beast, which was the song that plays during the club scene, with the blood rain and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that was like that, like at that point in time, folks, yeah, I used to seek out, big techno songs, right? And that one in particular, just really knocked,
Yeah, it was very 90s, proto Matrix, right? Everybody in leather and wearing sunglasses at night indoors for some reason. It's a lot of that, right? But yeah, that real nail it. Like it nails a specific aesthetic that feels comic booky enough without feeling too silly. Because like that was the default for a lot of comic book movies. Even the Bryan Singer X-Men films end up doing that, right? Like, well, what does look cool but also seems practical. Leather, black leather.
Yeah, so let's have all the X-Men, even though we grew up on the comics and cartoons. Yeah, we had them rock black, right? Because 2000, right? Anyway, yeah. So inclusive with Blade now. I mean, even though the movie is like narrative is far from perfect, I'd always say like the flaw of these films is the narrative as well. Because you don't want to take things too seriously, but at the same time have some goofy stuff here or there. Yeah, this film worked for me, right? As far as Blade 2 now, I because I did get to see the first one theatrically, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna miss this one on big screen. I went on big screen, enjoyed it. When it aired on Stars, watched it quite a few times, enjoyed it as well. Yeah. Again, not a perfect narrative and all that kind of stuff, but it still worked though. And we'll talk in between about this brings up like the big debate whether Blade 1 or 2 is which one is better, Blade 1 or 2, right? I make the argument that they both are great in their own respective ways, right?
Here's the thing. 2 is clearly superior to me.
No, it is. Yeah. Well, great, because Blade 2, I would say like production design. Like, I would just say from a production standpoint, this is a huge step up, right? Blade. I mean, it's late 90s, as you say, proto Matrix stuff, right? But 2 now in particular just had a specific look, which I'll talk about when I dive into the film, right? It just had a certain like style to it there. And like on first glance think, oh well, it's because it just shift locations from the States to Europe, right? But nah, it's really like what Del Toro did, like that's the creative choices he made there. It worked, right? And just to touch on Del Toro quickly, the only thing I knew about Del Toro back then was a little film called Mimic, right? I believe this was his first American film, right? His first American big budget horror film, right? So that was like the first film I saw from him. Right? I didn't even know about Chronos till like after the fact. I didn't even know about the Devil's Backbone till I guess around the time when Pan's Labyrinth came out, right? But point is, for me, this was like my true introduction to him, right? So 2 years later, the man dropped Hellboy. I was like, yeah. Watch that theatrically, enjoy that, right? And similar to Blade, Hellboy 2, right? The Golden Army, I would say is a superior film compared to the first one, just across the board.
Yeah,
that remake doesn't exist. Did even have a film does not exist, right? Sorry, but oh gosh, like
Del Toro should,
Del Toro should have made Hellboy 3, you know. He's like, nah, I win my Oscar with The Shape of Water, bro. I don't need to do this. This is beyond me. Right?
Yeah, well.
Yeah, but
I mean, I still mad that he do I still mad he can get to do Hobbit, so whatever.
Boy, yeah, he could have even. I was gonna say he could have done Pacific Rim too, but not that in particular. That beyond him. That's beyond him, right?
Yeah, he didn't.
But we had to save the worst for last now. Let me, I'll just talk briefly about Blade Trinity, right? So I was so excited, I love Blade 2. So I went to cinema, I watched Blade Trinity, right?
Yeah, really.
And it's one of those shows, like for me, I was just sitting on this, watching this, and like I wasn't like verbally screaming at the camera, at the screen, right? But in my mind, I was just like, okay, why we have chihuahuas with not chihuahuas, dogs with vampire.
Yeah, Pompecus
with vampire teeth.
Pomeranians.
Yeah. Why? Okay, like I heard Triple H was gonna be this. Okay,
right,
cool.
Yeah.
But why they have him not doing much, or you just have him to have a little fight with Blade? No, not with Blade. Oops, with Ryan Reynolds. And I forgot to mention too. This was my first introduction to Ryan Reynolds. I imagine it's seen for a lot of people, right? Parker Posey, like they just wasted her in this, right? And then of course, the one thing you remember was just that cuss out that Ryan gives Parker, which I'm not gonna see on air now, but it's so ridiculous, it's so over the top, but you remember it. But at the time though, I remember my jaw drop. I was like, wow, they actually get with that, right? Of also to Jessica Biel trying to do an action role. I think this was before Stealth, right?
Yeah. At the time, that was like Jessica Biel just come out of Seven Heaven on one of those shows. I think just ended, and they really tried to push she boy. What? And it's like she just not selling it at all. She was playing Whistler daughter or some bullshit like that.
And which nobody cared about. And what was even worse too?
The villain, Mr. No Neck, Big Head No Neck.
Oh yeah, right.
Prison Break, fella.
Prison Break, right? Fire. What's his name? He's in Legends of Tomorrow.
I forget his name too. Yeah. Right.
That I can remember Snook. That's all important this man is, this No Neck fella.
Right.
Yeah. But just to talk quickly on this show here, right? But I think just having David, for me, this was when I was like, all right, David S. Goya, you up to no good, right? You know what I mean? Because he didn't just write the film, he directed as well too, and directing wise, he just did nothing. It just felt so uninspired. It felt so lazy, Dread. The mere fact that the kill off Whistler was a slap to the face. And just all these creative calls just made no sense to me. They have this thing with Jessica Biel, like when she have shield bow and arrow. Oh, she have this iPod on and she can't do her thing without listening to music. I like, ugh, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even the music or whatever, the theme song that RZA did for this was horrible. Horrible. Hated it, right? And your big villain right now is Dracula. Like, this is how uninspired this show is, right? This is the end of the trilogy, so he must face the big bad, the biggest vampire of all time, Dracula.
Yeah. No, the thing with it is that it for a lot of people it was clearly a step down from the second one, and I think this was kind of the beginning of the end of Wesley Snipes' career, because two things.
Yeah.
Well, this is his mainstream career, like him, being a big action cell blockbuster type, basically, like, remember he behaved like a complete brat on set and whatnot.
So
But like, I mean, I don't think it not hardly ever justify behaving like that on set with anything. But at the same time, they kind of screw him over. Like, he really wanted more control of the situation and didn't have anything, and the studio really push yourself against the man, and he was like just pissed off. It's like, they're kind of fucking up my trilogy, and that is exactly what happened. So you just kind of stop giving a shit. Like, at that point, like I could totally understand where you're coming from. With that happening with him, like, I feel kind of bad for him, to be honest. Like, it's unfortunate, but whatever.
Yeah. So in closing, right? So yeah, that movie was a waste. It was a slap in the face to everybody
Hands
who.
down, the first Blade. Hands down, hands down.
Of course. I mean, unanimous vote on that one, right? There was Blade the series. I never bothered to see
Never
it.
watch it.
I just,
Never watch
I did.
Yo,
Yeah.
I couldn't. Who was it, yo?
Also was Sticky Fingers Shredder.
Sticky Fingers. Come on, man. I don't want
Look.
to see Sticky Fingers.
I understand. Sticky have a real grimy voice. That's why we love him, Dread. But Sticky as Blade, bro.
Yeah, that doesn't make no sense.
Like I understand.
What station I was
when
on?
you had
Fox?
Treach, when you had no that was Spike TV.
baby.
Spike TV.
Spike
Wow.
TV.
Right. So you had to drink your Red Bull and your Cheetos when watching that nonsense, right?
You know, like I understand back in the days when they get Tretch from Naughty by
Right.
Nature trying to push he to be action hero. Okay, cool. He had the look, but Sticky Fingers, bro, no, right? But yeah, for me, I thought that was the beginning of the end as far as the Blade character goes. But is of the success of the MCU, right? And now we hearing talks. Well, back then we were hearing talks that Mahershala Ali, right, 2-time Oscar winner, going to play Blade, right? And yeah, it's greenlit, so he is going to be
But
Blade.
here's my problem with that, right? My problem with that is that I find they should go younger.
Yeah, that was my general problem as well.
Because
he will be like
they're gonna get these old guys, and then they're gonna do what old people do. They're gonna die.
Well, I mean, he ain't so old, but my problem is that he could jump around on them wires and things. What are they gonna be doing with that to make him look good now? Like, Wesley Snipes was in his early to mid 30s when Blade 1 came out, and Wesley Snipes is like a 50-degree black belt in karate. Like,
yes, he was doing his own fight scenes.
Exactly. So
like
about I still
all he have is just look. He had
I
face
still very skeptical of that. Like in terms of like what they're gonna do with it. But yeah, Mahershala is a great actor, so I don't know what they're gonna do. Whatever, we'll see.
Yeah, I guess you'll see. But Ashton, take it away. Your history with the Blade trilogy.
Right. So for the whole trilogy, Blade 1, you want to run through the whole thing, right? Correct?
Yeah, just quickly, when you saw it for the first time, how you felt.
I remember the first time I saw Blade 1, I was like, yo, this is kind of sick. And I was like, ooh, kind of bloody and vampires. I didn't know too much about Blade, even though I was significantly into comic books still at a very young age, even back then. But Blade wasn't a character I used to read upon until I used to read a book called Midnight Suns, because I was following, I think, Ghost Rider more.
Ghost Rider, yeah.
I used to read their stories, and I was a big Ghost Rider fan. So.
Oh, me too, yeah.
Yeah,
and then the movie came out, right?
Yeah, then I was like, yo, this is madness. Please never cast Nicolas Cage. As much as I love Nicolas Cage, I never want to see him ever talk about Ghost Rider even. But yeah, as I was saying, so Blade 1, it was good. I was like intrigued. It was like weird. It was like his mom was a vampire who was gonna feed on him with something. Yeah, and then the little rituals and stuff that they had. It was cool, Like, I rate it as the second best Blade movie to me out in the trilogy. And we move on to Blade 2. Now, even back then, I was heavily into Asian cinema in particular. In fact, I used to go and buy my original DVDs in Asian flicks because I just wanted to have a nice collection. I'll send you a picture of my collection, Matthew. You might like it. But,
please do, yeah.
Yeah. Donnie Yen was in the movie, and that was enough for me. I didn't need to know nothing else about this movie. I was like, yo, Donnie Yen is in this movie. This is gonna be amazing.
I'll talk about Donnie Yen. I'll talk about him.
Then I'm watching the movie. You have Donnie Yen, great actor. You have Norman Reedus, an actor I like because at that time it was what was that movie? Boondock Saints.
Boondock Saints, right? Yeah.
I remember from Boondock Saints and Deuces Wild, and I like him in both those movies. And I find the cast was good. I like the little twist where he was a familiar, It was nice. I like that, the vibes. But the most interesting part about part 2 was the introduction of all those other vampires. You know what I mean? So the girl vampire with the big vampire man who had the big hammer thing with the spike on it, like their little relationship on screen. You see that she's like, yeah, that was cool. I like all of that stuff. I find all of that stuff was real cool. And just
I just love the idea of a vampire nation. Like it just have this organization.
And then I find the actual enemy in the movie in part 2 was significant.
Yeah.
You know, he posed a significant threat to the entire vampire nation, but he had a specific reason why he wanted to do it. It wasn't just meaningless madness. He had a direction as the villain. Yeah, and I'll tell you one of my favorite scenes in that movie. Yeah? One of my favorite scenes in that movie is when the big vampire guy turns, and then the girl vampire tries to talk to him, and he's like, "Yeah, okay, no more talking," and he kills her one time. You guys remember that, right?
Yeah.
Right. That was actually my favorite scene in the movie for no specific reason.
Jared.
Yeah. Blade 2, yo, I rate that movie so high in terms of Marvel movies in general, Blade 2, right? Like, I don't make a separation between MCU and the Marvel movies that happened before. I just judge everything based off of the source material, and I would still rate Winter Soldier #1, and Blade 2 is in the top 5 for sure. And then we have Trinity. What a pile of doo-doo. So all I could say, that was actually perfect for me, because after that movie, I said to myself, I can't watch another Blade movie. And thankfully, they never made another Blade movie. They just made that, as I said, that TV series with Sticky Fingers. Like, yo, bro, how am I supposed to take Sticky Fingers, like, serious with his lazy eye? Like, I know he's trying to look out for everybody with the lazy eye, but still, like, I can't go for being Blade. Nah, get out of here with that shit. You're supposed to be peak physical condition. Lazy eye can't work. You'll miss something in the left or right now. And yeah, back to Trinity. Trinity had so many forgettable moments and forgettable characters and forgettable motivations. It, to me, just didn't make much. It wasn't cohesive, right? Like, okay, you have this Parker Posey. She is one section of a villain that Blade will have to deal with. But then there's also the no-neck guy from Prison Break, whoever his name is, I do not know. But
I just do him as fire thing from Legends of Tomorrow.
Right. that would be more pertinent to the listeners, right? He's from DC Legends. He is the fire guy. Well, was the fire guy. That boy, people don't probably even watch DC Legends, so that reference probably didn't even make any sense to them.
I know, right?
Yeah, just saying. But still, he was forgettable. His motivation was forgettable. I think they had one scene where he went into like a got store and
it was a joke. That was a joke.
Yeah, picked out his outfit. Yeah. It's like, yo, what is this? Like, bro. And correct me if I'm wrong. Did they have any X-ray scenes in this movie? Because I feel like all the X-ray scenes that I think were in this movie were utter shit.
No, it was in this one. Yeah.
It was in this one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was shit.
I actually forgot that was in it, to be honest.
Yeah, that was utter shit. And what you said was funny about all right, so I had a huge crush on Jessica Biel, right? So I was like, Jessica Biel. But then as I said, like she had, I never really thought about it now, but it's so corny that she had to put in the headsets before she could do her little arrow thing. Like, oh god. And well, ever since then, Ryan Reynolds has been playing Deadpool. So I mean, everything's good, you know what I mean? It's all nice, it's all dandy.
Yeah, come to think of it, he actually stole his show, especially with that line that he dropped on Parker. Just that one line. That's what you remember from that movie,
That's it. Ryan Reynolds had the best on-screen presence in the movie. And I think that's just because he's just a captivating dude in general. And but I would say this about him. To me, Ryan, ever since Deadpool, I look back on it, Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool in every movie he's ever done.
Since Van Wilder.
Without even knowing it.
Oh, God. For real.
Deadpool his entire career.
Yeah, pretty much.
Just like Jason Momoa, anytime he's in anything, I just call it, Carl Water, because he's Aquaman, he's in the water. Yeah, everything to me is Khal Drogo for him. He's one of them. But yeah, Blade Trinity, less than trash, worst Marvel movie ever, 0. I think I can say that with confidence,
Yeah. I would have put Origins, X-Men Origins, or Wolverine. Right. But yeah, you're right.
All the X-Men come in soon after. Don't worry. All the new X-Men, everything that's not Jackman, Barry, Marsden is trash.
Now we defend First Class though. We defend First Class.
These are future past.
No, that's because you love this chick, yo. You love that girl. That's why you defending First Class. I don't.
Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah, it's because you love that girl. You defending First Class.
No,
Not
it's just
that's
solid
solid script.
writing throughout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Even though these are feature pass, not as great as like back then. It's like, oh my god, this is so awesome. Then when you watch it again, kind of sluggish and
Well, my favorite Days of Future Past is that they use it as a reset button. They get a chance at a reset button, which they blew. Like I just treat it for what it is as a reset button. But yeah, they blew it. Whatever.
Yeah. Right.
Which was the X-Men where Phoenix kills Cyclops at the start?
That's true.
Right, that one is shit. That one
Of course it's shit. Yeah.
That's like the worst one. I wanted the worst one.
All right. So lastly, Ricardo, take it away. Your history with the Blade films, like where you saw them, where you thought about them, how you think about them now in retrospect.
Right. Yeah. So for me, I dig the hell out of the franchise for what it is, what they're trying to do for the most part. The first one I saw in Windsor, right, pretty good, pretty badass. Special effects really hold up. I have a lot of corny moments, especially that fist bump scene in the beginning. But it was still cool. Like the beginning had a nice fake out for the guy going to the nightclub and he realized, oh, it's a vampire nightclub, and he get catch, and then Blade come in and cut all of them ass, right? That is pretty good. Martial arts badass, ice with his motherfuckers ice skating uphill. Deacon Frost, good villain. They make it work, like solid world building, and then you enjoy it. Great action flick. And then The Matrix came out and kind of changed everything for a lot of people. And then this comes after, so you have to have a radically different approach. You can't just do The Matrix or rip off The Matrix, even though Blade had the aesthetic before. Second film, love it. Right, absolutely love the second film. Guillermo del Toro was absolutely perfect for the material. Corny ass dialogue, but it really works. Hellboy himself comes in and he's great in it. What's his name, boy? The actor for Hellboy again, Ron Perlman. Absolutely, everything works. The guy would have got to play like the vampire leader, which is so clever. Like they get basically the vampire leader looks like on Counter Lock. Yeah, really inspired choice. This is all the little small things that they just made work, and you can't be mad at any of it. Like I was just real enjoying how the thing is, and then the big reveal about Jared Nomak is like, yeah, he's the villain of the storyline, but yeah, it's because they set him up, and later them knew that he would have set him up, and then they play with that and make it move forward. And yeah, it's a solid script, solid storytelling. The girl they get for the acting is great. This is a Chilean actress, I forget her name, who's playing the other girl. She's badass and really well done. And yeah, I just really, really enjoyed this movie for what it was. It just really entertaining. Great action sequences. Characters just dick measuring each other, but they're making it work. The blood pack badass. I wish they'd do a little more with the blood pack, but they make it work for what it was. And the big reveal with Scud was pretty cool because they were trying to play it as if, well, Whistler was kind of working for the vampires and not going to be the twist. But no, Scud was the twist. Like, okay, cool. And then the ending, the tragic ending with the girl at the end, and it's like, okay, that worked. Solid script. We'll talk about like what I liked about it, and two things I was just kind of really interesting about it. But basically, I'll just put it like things that they knew the audience would have been into at that point, which is, and that was coming up and becoming very popular in the early to mid 2000s. Firstly, that is of wrestling and professional wrestling. It was kind of shocking to see so many wrestling moves and just badass brawling in this one. And then the second is rap music. Like that's a surprisingly high amount of hip hop in this. Okay, would they make it work in the action movie? And Wesley Snipes clearly had a lot of creative control, and because he really likes and understands the character. So again, even though he shouldn't have behaved like a brat, I totally understand why he behaved like a brat for the third film and then give a shit. Because they had to do all kind of weird nonsense, like he didn't want to open his eyes, and they had to digitally open his eyes in the third film and whatever it is. The third film, total disaster. I did not see it in theater, so what happens? My friends and them, they went to see it real early, and they came back and hated it, and I was like, all right, well, I'll go wait then. Then I waited like about 2-3 weeks. The film was still barely showing in theaters, now coming out. I think the ticket was dirt cheap at that point. And I was like, all right, I'm going to see it in theater. Let me see what it's about. Yeah, hated it. Dominic Purcell, that's the person who plays Dracula. Yeah, it was pointless. Script sucked. As a bunch of people who clearly want to, put themselves up in and get a particular credit. So clearly Goya wanted that directing credit under the name. So he just sacrificed Blade at our altar. That's basically what happened. Yeah, script sucked. So sorry, I can't say any more about it. Like they were trying to push Jessica Biel, in your face. That was like a common thing in the mid-2000s. Push a white woman who kind of attractive, but not really that attractive. But it's a white woman, so you're good. And they just real pushy, and she come in this. She was okay in this, but she's Whistler's daughter, so I didn't give a shit. And it's like, all right, well, Patton Oswalt okay in this. He's kind of funny. Like, he's the only thing that I like in all of this. And then Ryan Reynolds was Ryan Reynolds. So he just basically, well, you make the joke of calling him Deadpool, but yeah, I just know him as Van Wilder. He's still playing Van Wilder. That's how it was. That was the joke. Yeah, terrible. Like, he's arguably one of the worst Marvel comic book movies out there. Just a total waste and a total waste of time. It's really unfortunate that it end off a bad ending of a trilogy. They just keep fucking up trilogies for some reason. Anyway, that's about it. So that's just me on the Blade franchise. Never watched the TV show. Never cared. I remember Blade being introduced to me with in the Spider-Man 90s series.
Yes. I remember that too. Yeah.
Yeah, with the rock and roll music. That one. That's pretty much how I knew the character originally. It's like, right.
And he have a bike that could ride up buildings. Yeah. That's before we saw Ghost Rider.
Yeah. I wish we got a little bit of that in this, but whatever. Yeah, that's about it. Like, I never get into the Spike TV series. I remember seeing it in trailers, and that's about it. I never watched it. So because by then my life was actually like busy, and I became an adult, right? So I didn't have time for all that bullshit. That's pretty much it. So moving on from there.
Right. So without wasting time, guys, we're just going to do a run through of Blade 2. We're not going to overanalyze it because, it's Blade 2, right? That's not an insult, but just saying it's just Blade 2, right?
Yeah.
So just to touch on, just that locale, right? Just setting the film while actually it's in Prague now, as opposed to some random American city in the first film, right? They never really say where, if you remember, right?
Right. I felt like it was LA. Like, that's what I thought it was.
Could be.
Or Detroit.
Could be. Yeah. Because
it's a European vibe, because I tell everybody who's looking kind of scummy to a certain degree. That's what I knew. European.
No, I'm talking about the first film.
No, the first film.
We're talking about the first film.
Yeah, the first one, I had no idea where all that was happening.
Yeah, I couldn't tell.
It was just always like the city,
I assume like San Francisco. That was always my kind of working theory, but I didn't have enough hills.
Or Detroit.
Right, maybe. And I was just thinking, well, it had, because the thing is, remember, a big part of it was in Chinatown because he grabbed the gill.
Yeah, he grabbed the gill and, do the thing, right?
Right. I was like, okay, I'm sure going on there. So, whatever, moving on.
Yeah, so for me, right, I'm not saying that the decision to move the story to Europe was all Del Toro's idea, right? But I felt like he capitalized on that now because, this is his chance now to pay tribute to, well, Nosferatu, right?
Right.
The OG, 1922. Sorry, 1912 horror film, right? No, sorry, 1922. Yeah, it gives Del Toro the chance to pay tribute to, well, Nosferatu. And if you look at the Reapers themselves, they look very much like that, like that Max Schrecker, Nosferatu, right?
And then, what's the character? Damascus. I forget the villain.
Or Eli Damaskinos, which is still one of the most awesome names for a vampire ever.
Right,
like,
but yeah,
when I hear that name, I was like, I love that name.
Yeah. When he showed up on screen, everybody was like, oh shit, Count Orlok though. Like, oh okay, like we see where they're going for this. So like, wood.
Yeah. And that's what I picked up on. That's what I picked up on. Just Del Toro's fanboyship for on-screen monsters, right? And you could see that in this film, right? You can really see that, right?
Yeah.
So basically we open with this blood bank in Prague, right? And I just love how things change in the first movie, where you really see how the vampire world merge with the human world. So anybody walk past, see this bank, and like, we know vampires run that place, right? But here actually they allow humans to come in to donate blood. I thought that was really cool, right?
Right. They flip it with this one. So they had the fake out last time where it was this guy going in and it's a vampire place. This time it's
and then they have glyphs. So you had to look, and then in this one. Yeah, in this one, the fake out sequence now is that it looks like a human being pulled into from a bunch of obvious vampires, and then you find out, no, it's a super vampire going to fuck them up.
Like, all right, great opening. Yeah.
And that would be the character of Jared Nomak, right?
Yeah.
And you know, like while they test them, you know, they say, oh, we found some irregularities in your blood, right?
Right.
And you know, they was about to harvest him, right? So he just flips out, starts to waste everybody, and before he kills the last guy, he looks up at the security camera and says, "Vampires, I hate vampires," right? And you know, we get a pretty standard but kick-ass by today's standards title sequence with Blade talking. My name is Blade.
We need to bring shit like that back, yeah?
Thank you.
This kick-ass theme song, and it's like there's a quick little montage here, you know? I was like, oh yeah, Salah later was the mother, right.
Yeah.
Like from the first film, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
cool. And then
I have all of their strengths, none of their weaknesses,
right?
Except for the thirst. You know, just the way how he talks in it. Right. I love that. You know,
and then they do the pullback. They pull back with Whistler. So like we thought Whistler died in the first film.
Which in retrospect I feel is a retcon they do because we all thought that Whistler was dead, but I guess they had to kind of explain why Bleed was in Moscow at the end of the movie, right? I guess.
Right. Exactly. Right. That's from at the end of the first film, right? That's true.
Yeah.
Right.
So right after that, though, so the opening action sequence is so early 2000s, right? Especially the slow-mo shot, which I still fucks with, right? With Blade firing the silver bullet into a vampire, right? But one thing, like, I always find it was really interesting because the following year, we had Bad Boys 2. And Michael Bay pull off a similar shot like that, right? But the catch with Michael Bay's stuff is that he do it in like 4 cuts now. So you saw the bullet go through some glass jars and hit Martin Lawrence in the ass and then shoot this guy in the neck, right? But this one is like one full take that he do. And, you know, the one thing I really love as far as like an improvement over the first film is that you saw more fiery ash in when the vampires, you know, disintegrate now.
Right, yeah.
Like in
so
the first one, they just
time,
looked like black ash and that was it. But this one,
you're
seeing flames like on the ash. I thought that was really, really dope too. I love that.
Right, yeah.
You know?
But the silver, yeah.
Yeah. And also quite noticeable too is just the color palette of this film though. Like Del Toro uses a lot of yellow, like the street lights are yellow, and it just adds this feel to the world of it now. Like, so it's not just, you know, all silvery and blue and gray like how the first one was, but it's bright. It's brighter now, but still nocturnal. I really, really love that, right? But yeah, the action scene is kick-ass as well too, especially how Blade moves. I love, like, just in true Blade fashion, you know, how he will always stop to do something kind of random. So like when he's on the bike, you know, he almost crashes into his car, he stops and he just blows a kiss. You know what I mean? There's stuff like that like, I see shit. Like, I just having fun doing this, right? So I love that.
The first film had one moment where he do the fist pump, this corny ass fist pump at the club. That was one. But it had one where the police tried to shoot him and it's like, motherfuckers, are you on the fire? Yeah, under the light. It's like,
which is such a blaxploitation thing, but
it
totally works too, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
He finds there's this lone survivor in the skirmish here. We call him the loose end, so he pretty much interrogates him and he asks, well, where's Whistler? And he gives off the location, right? And here we see, well, this is something that they, like, in the first film, they was doing this a lot. They was doing this, not a lot, but just start establishing this, like vampire this, vampire that. We have a vampire Bible, we have a vampire this. Here we seen vampire coke. Yes, it's literal coke mixed with blood.
Yeah, right. That
is mix it up and it just works. And you know,
nice. Where's that? Ashton, go ahead.
So get high, bro.
Yeah. So no, what's cool about
one sec, this actually brings up something that I actually kind of forget about this movie though. It kind of brings up that counterculture that back in like the late 90s now. You know, that whole drug, you know, subculture basically right down to, you know, having having the vampires in nightclubs doing drugs and all that kind of stuff. So it just kind of touch on that now, you know what I mean? Yeah.
All right. So why this one work is that they do, like, okay, the first one had they mixed the nightclub culture with it. Because in the first film, it was like very specifically American mobsters. You're not too sure what they were, but like I forget the leader of vampires, but he was a kind of Eastern European kind of figure. So
right. Eastern European for sure.
Right, but this one now.
That was Udo Kier,
right.
Yeah,
and this one now, it's very Eastern European. They play with the whole Eastern European mafia aspect of it in terms of the how the crime feels and how, again, still the aesthetics and the nightclub aspect of it. They make it really work in this one because it really feels lived in.
It does. It does. Certainly does, right? So, of course, Blade comes in, weaves all of them. I feel sorry for the guy who just opened that door. Like, as he just opened it, blah, da, 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 da,
watch
and he
out,
just
yeah.
disintegrates, right? I love that, right? And then, of course, Blade and them catchphrases. So, like, he looks at the Lucid and he just points him and says, "Catch you later." Like, this stuff like that, I just love, though. It's silly, but, it works in terms of who the character is, right?
You know what I like most about that? They actually did the callback where Blade caught him later. I like that. I like
that's the end.
the callbacks.
Yeah. Which you'll get into in the end, of course, right? Blade finds Whistler. He is in this chamber. It's filled with blood. If it is a shot, like if you like where the light is focused on his face, I see his mouth open, so you see that he has the fangs now, so he's already turned, right?
Yeah.
Blade frees him, takes him back to his hideout in Prague, because of course he have a hideout in Prague, right? Like, just out of blue, you have a hideout, right? However, right? And for me, this was my first introduction to Norman Reedus, right? A.k.a. Daryl from The Walking Dead, right? Because I saw the Boondock scenes after the fact. I didn't see it when it came out, right? I took note of his first line, Dread. So he says, "Lock up your daughters, boys and girls, the Dark Knight returns."
Right.
And I imagine Christopher Nolan watches like, aha, you see, it could make a dark version of Batman. That this Joe Schumacher stuff, right?
Right. But they make it the big right. So the big conceit is that he was like Blade rescued him. It was later you learn as a setup, but like how Blade rescued him was pretty funny and cool how they explained that. Norman Reedus was great in this. Like he just helping out Blade right through,
Yeah, he's a new Whistler. He's
right. Take over from Whistler.
He is the Q from James Bond. He creates all these gadgets and Blade uses them. Right. That's what he does.
Yeah. And they make it work in that sense of the term. Like, Blade need a tech person. The one thing that they didn't follow up on was I forget her name, but the girl from the first one, right?
I would have the nurse. I would have loved to see what happened to her.
Right.
Afterwards.
But the thing is that the big plot device from the first one that she creates, that comes back, but it doesn't work like this time. That could just to show how badass
the neurotoxin thing,
right? Just to show how badass Jared Nomak is now. It'll work on normal vampires, but not on him. Because it was like the real thing that was killing vampires, lickety split to the first one. But yeah, I really felt they could have done something with her. Also, this quick little trivia: they were supposed to have Morbius in this one, and that was, I think, teased or like it was I think it was like in a deleted scene or something like that, and they were supposed to have Morbius in this one, and I think it get cut, and because Del Toro was like, nah, that'll distract from the script, which is a good call. Things like that. Yeah, correct.
And that's really interesting because in the Spider-Man animated show, the Morbius arc,
was
where
Blade
was in. Yeah, Blade was part of it, right? Yeah. Right. So yeah, Blade brings him back. Sorry, I forgot to mention Norman Reedus plays Scud, right?
Yeah.
And there's like a nice little bit where Whistler who will come back to normal later on, call him Spud and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
But back to Whistler. So Blade gives Whistler this retroviral detox, basically to remove as much of the tooth as possible, that make him go to cool turkey, right? I love where like Blade tells Whistler before he leaves him, in the morning these blades are gonna open where they're cured on that shit. And that really sets up the mindset of Blade Dread. Like he's so hell-bent on wiping out vampires, Dread. He will get rid of the mentor too,
Yeah, you tell him that. I mean,
he'll get rid of him too,
Yeah, I don't watch that.
I don't care if you saved my life when I was a teenager. I won't waste you if you turn, I love that about him, right?
Yeah.
Right. So he goes and check on Whistler. Of course, Whistler back to normal. And just Spud right off the jump, though. I would say Whistler pretty much hates Spud, right? Just right off the jump, though. And that right there is like indication as to why I shouldn't really trust him, right? But what the show also does very well, it makes you feel a little distrust for Whistler as well, too.
Exactly.
Kind of warning, he get bit, so
exactly.
He might side with the vampires too,
Yeah, it's a great little misdirection I felt that they did. Like they had you going for that now. They make you think the entire time he's the person you should distrust, and then they flip it on you at the end. Like,
right, exactly. Yeah. So just then alarm goes off, right? So vampires have broken into the premises, right? I would say, like, just from a VFX perspective, right? The way how they sneak into the hideout, like how they swing on the things, that look really, really dope, right? And I really dug like the bat-like costumes that they have
at the time, even at the time it was noticeably kind of bad as a CG composite. Like you see
Oh, okay, that one shot. Okay.
Some shots look better.
Because I didn't get to the fighters yet. Let's talk about when they come into the place.
And it was just swinging in, yeah. But it still looked decent. But I was still at the time, even at the time, I was like, wait, but I'm looking a little floaty, boy. And again, even back then, I was a nitpicky person in that sense. Like, all right, I could see that. But again, CG was still relatively new for most people anyway. So like, it's fine. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Also, but I would say what is really memorable is the sword fight scene, right? But not entirely in all the right ways, right? Because yes, it is a pretty solid fight, though. It's where Blade fights. Well, one of the intruders is called Nisa, right?
Yeah.
But there's two wide shots though, and they have guard lights in the background that didn't look good back in 2002, and it still don't look good. That is the jump kick that Blade does the first time, and then there's one where like they just kind of clashing swords, and it like his body looks kind of rubbery, and just kind of ends with the stalemate. But the end shot with them, the close up of the two of them together, where you know it's the real actors, that looked dope. But the lead up to it, however, from a VFX perspective, didn't look good at all. You know what I mean? But one of the male intruders, right? His name is Assad, right? I just love the names of these characters have Assad and Nisa, right?
What's interesting is more brown.
They're very Middle Eastern,
Right, exactly. They told them. Well, the actress is Chilean, but I don't know what she's supposed to be like ethnic wise in the world.
In film, all right, that's true. And then see who her father is, right? Which we'll get to, right? Yeah, right. So Assad tells Blade that the Vampire Nation is offering him a truce, right? They want to meet with him, right? And well, he reluctantly agrees, right? And again, Blade just so don't trust vampires, right? Yeah. When he's in the helicopter with them, they're like, how you know you can trust him? He's like, I have, like, he just pulls his jacket. It's like, he have Semtex enough to level a whole city block, right? You know what I mean? It's like, wow, but like, wow, Bleed, wow.
No, but it's all these little scriptings that I don't have any problem with. It's like, yeah, cool. Like I enjoy stuff like that. Like that's makes sense. Like, yeah, you would do some shit like that if you trust vampires. Story.
Yeah, so they actually make it to the compound, right? That's all I'll call it, right? We meet with Eli Dabaskidos.
Yeah.
Which is still one of the most awesome names that vampire I've ever heard in my life. Well, Overlord Eli Dabaskidos, right? The makeup on Eli alone, though, is just fantastic.
Yeah, excellent.
I can see Guillermo's love for, for film monsters, there, right? Because again, it's very much, Count Orlok from Nosferatu. But just, less pointy ears, basically, right?
He looks like a very old Count Orlok. That's basically what it is.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
So he has a lawyer, human, of course, haha, right? And I like there's a moment where he thanks Blade for killing Deacon Frost.
Right.
Like, okay. I'll continue. I like that. Just to show how much of a dick Deacon was, where the elder vampire is like, yes, thank you for getting rid of him, Jen,
But there's a great line with his we say, boy, when he shake his hand and he saw the tattoo and it's like, you're human. And it's like, barely, I'm a lawyer. It's like,
yeah, I love that.
Stupid line,
and just that tattoo itself, if you remember in the Will of Blade, that represents that you're familiar, right? So you're human, but you work for the vampires. It's not like they're feeding off of you, but you do work for them, right? That's how it is, right?
Yeah, effective.
So basically, Eli and the lawyer pretty much tell Blade about this new strain, this vampire virus going around called the Reaper strain, right? Its carrier is Jared, right? He was born a vampire, but he feeds on humans and vampires. And just as a concept alone, just like in terms of following up on the first movie, I thought that was just brilliant. Like, yes, what better way to classify your villain, to distinguish your villain now that to have him go against vampires too. Like,
right.
I thought that was perfect.
Right. So this is one simple script reason why this is better than the first film. Because two things. One, they go more biological and grounded with it. Like the first one was this elder god creature that you're not sure like he's a god.
Yeah.
It's a little too obvious.
And then also in terms with Deacon is like, oh well, I wasn't born a vampire. So that's why they hate me for. That's why he was just lashing out at the elders, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
But the point is that the whole, I forget the name of the god, La Mabra or something like that.
La Magra,
right. So it was like too supernatural. Like it was too out there. Like, but this is straight up just biology. It's just, it's kind of like a branch off of humanity, and that could also branch off themselves. And they make it work. Like, in terms of like what vampires work. And then, but you find out what's going on with that. It's like, okay, that kind of clever. Like,
what did you do with it?
Yeah.
And even better too is that the victims turn to reapers as well. I thought that was like a smart call, right?
Yeah.
So the smart calls just keep coming, right? So basically they have a group of warriors that they call the Blood Pack, right?
Right.
But they were trained to hunt Blade, right?
Yep.
But now the Blade basically has to lead them now to stop the reapers, because like, well, yeah, I love what Eli says. Well, when we are wiped out, now just paraphrasing here, who you think they're gonna go? Who you think they're gonna go for next? Your precious humans. I love that. That was just perfect.
You know what? I love that whole crew, that whole other vampire crew. I had loved that about that movie. But I'll tell you this, sad point is that I find like they could have been more on screen now.
Yeah, they gotta use them.
I agree. Yeah. They could have utilized them. Sorry, not utilized them. They could have given them a little bit more character moments. You know what I mean? Like they were just there as cannon fodder, unfortunately.
Right,
But
yeah.
in terms of story, it worked, right?
Yeah, 'cause I mean, they had the one part where the strong man hit the
thing in the neck.
hybrid vampire,
Yeah.
and
In
it
the
just kind of wiggled out and run away.
Yeah, real goodness, you know.
Yeah, which was sick back then and still.
No, yeah, the club.
And that was amazing. That was.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get to the club scene. We'll get to the club scene in a bit, right? But just to touch on the Blood Pack, right? Which, by the way, must have sounded so good on people, right? But it is one of those things like the Blood Pack. The Blood Pack.
Oh, yeah, it's such a corny comic book thing. And I want to change your thing. Yeah? Like, it's a perfect name for them. It's like, yeah, like that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. But just the name is a little silly, right? In retrospect, right?
Yeah.
So the members are Lighthammer,
Lighthammer.
Lillian, that's his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Priest,
Right.
Snowman, played by Donnie Yen.
Yep.
If I just have one gripe about Snowman, Jed, he doesn't say anything. Like, bro, like give him a line, Jed. Like I understand. Like back in those days, right? Especially when you're introducing Asian actors to American films. Case in point, Jet Li and Lethal Weapon 4. You almost don't know how, like, what lines to give them, or if to give them lines at all. So I think Jet Li had one line in that movie, if I'm not mistaken. I only saw that movie once. But yeah, Snowman didn't give Donnie and shit to say. Well, it's just like,
Just had to
why,
be
bro? You know, we like have him say a line there, whatever.
What Donnie Yen said is that they cut a lot of his stuff from the movie itself, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Have a lot of other scenes also, but I guess the promise of being exposed to American cinema in such a huge way, you probably thought it would be a good way to break into the market, but it's hard to break into the market when you don't say a word, and the only thing you really do of note in the movie, even though I love you, Donnie Yen, I love you, is you jump up in the air and you hit a man about 3-4 kick in the chest before you hit the ground.
Yeah.
You know,
that was it. And he do some sword stuff. He do some sword stuff too, which was cool, right? Last two members, Chupa and of course Hellboy himself, Reinhardt. I just always find Reinhardt, which is such an awesome name. I just love, like, in this film, like in Eastern Europe or wherever they are right now, right? You have an Asian, you have a few American vampires. The majority of them is European. I just love that. I love the film just doesn't ask you or bother to tell you where they really come from. It's just like, we just train to kill you, right? Whatever.
They're vampires. I mean, they're living forever, however it is, and they're all over the world. It don't matter.
Exactly, right? And out the gate.
It's a Blade that we trained to kill you, and Blade was like, right, you guys.
Yeah.
That's what I love about this.
And he even have a couple of nice lines, like before we see the Blood Pack, like, you want me to hunt them for you?
Right. I mean, that's what I like about it. Just Blade don't give a fuck the entire time.
I know.
Give a fuck attitude right through, Dread. That will make this work, Dread.
Yeah, but it has that like douchey asshole better than you vibe down so good. So good.
Right.
Even in part 1, you know, when he picked up that little bladed weapon that like flicked out like a boomerang.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And just tossed it around and killed everybody, and when he caught it back, he just smiled and everybody died.
Right.
Yeah.
And they had a moment like that in this movie as well, where he like destroyed everybody, and then he kind of just like, I'm just better than you guys.
Yeah, that was actually in the opening action sequence. He uses that boomerang thing, right? Yeah. But yeah, out the gate though, Reinhardt is a soul boy, right? I love how he just steps up to Blade. Is like, me and the guys here was wondering, can you blush?
Right.
Like when I heard that for the first time, I was like,
stop lying.
All right.
I like so dumb, eh?
I know, right?
Yeah, no.
and then we just basically get some peacocking, I will call, right? Between Blade and Reinhardt, though. And I mean, when you look at it now, it is so 2000s, but it still works. You know, we're like, ooh, nice, right? And then he flipping the silver stake thing and smacking him in the face, and you didn't see that? All right, let me do that again.
You know, that was a whole bit.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But again, though, I just love how it ends, where basically, like, as everybody was about to pull guns, or was about to shoot Blade now, he just sticks this explosive device on Reinhardt's head, Joe, the back of his head, basically, and says, "Oh, well, you got an explosive device in the back of your head, right?" You know? I just basically taunting him with this device, with the trigger, basically, right? Keep that device in mind. I keep that in mind, right? So yeah, basically the Blood Pack now, they start the journey at this seedy vampire nightclub called the House of Pain, right?
Right.
Remember, it's the 90s, so and then again, House of Pain wasn't really doing any music, right? So shout out to Everlast, by the way, right? But anyway, right? So Whistler's assigned to, like, he's posted up on this roof of the building.
Right. So you start to see the clash with Whistler, like it make it look like if Blade don't trust Whistler as much.
Yes.
It's like what they call it the shots now, and then I think for some reason
he actually brought up that too. It's like, oh, Blood Pack's running the show now. He says that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And then, so they had attention, and then they have Scott watching the Powerpuff Girls for some reason.
Yeah. There's like 3-4 instances of him watching Powerpuff Girls. But then again, in the early 2000s, we will fuck it with Powerpuff Girls. We will fuck it with that show.
It's a good shorthand for the generational stuff. Like, smart people just watch cartoons. Little things like that. Again, Del Toro's a nerd, so you can't.
Yeah, he is.
You can't get wrong with that.
Yeah, he's set up in this bus here, so you have cameras. So basically, the Blood Pack just have to put cameras, in the club itself, so Scuds could see what's going on and monitor for Reapers, right?
All right. One thing they set up in the storyline is because they talk about how the what they have to do to deal with vampires, and they kind of establish this. Although I don't know if they set that up fully, but they kind of establish that the only thing that works on the Reapers is the sunlight, right? And so
Right. After, because later on there's a fight scene between Blade and Jarek, and he does this it's one of the gizmos that gizmo, right? That Scud makes for him, right? The kind of the stuff on his wrist, basically, with the blade, so when he stick it, so it has like a silver gallic.
Right. Yeah, that's the same.
But then when he got stuck with it, he just like started to like it was affecting him. Then you see it like boils up in his head, basically. But then it was just like, he back to normal. It's like, oh shit, like silver and
that's the big plot device from the first film. That don't work at all now. Like, oh shit, that they write it out. Like, I like that. They write it out to the storyline. They don't work
Yeah,
great.
Agreed, right. Yeah. So for me, we get one of my favorite scenes in this movie, right? It's just this slow-mo wide shot of Blade and the Blood Pack walking in slow-mo, and you hear the Tom Mos Def song.
Right.
I love that song, and I hear it now, that I against I. Flesh of mind of my mind. I love that. I think why I love it so much, though, is Mos Def over a trip-hop beat, shit. It sounds so dark and grimy, but he sounds so dope in it, though. I love that song. I love that they brought it up in the end credits for the movie, too.
Right.
Like, yeah.
It was shocking to hear any hip hop at all. Like, boy, they actually have hip hop in this. I think it was jarring, but it worked though. Like, because at that time hip hop was. I'll argue that hip hop really came into its own in terms of mainstream appeal. Like, around that time, 2003, right? Like,
early 2000s.
Yeah, exactly. Truly massive. Like, really take over. Like, I forget when it was. I think it was like 2004 was the first time that it had a all black in the Billboard charts. Like, it was all black artists.
All
first time
black
ever.
Performance.
Or something like that. Yeah, so that was like all hip hop and R&B. Like, it truly became mainstream in that sense. So it was like, black superhero to make it work. It was like really shocking to see that in theaters. Like, oh wow.
Exactly. But that scene knocks, that song still knocks. I love that song, right? But so now we're in the club, right? And even though, like, in retrospect, we don't get Fat Beats, right, which was like the prominent song in the nightclub scene in the first film. We got a couple of nice little decent techno songs here there. And I mean, just going back to that whole drug culture, see the scene like vampires, taking, like, just kind of doing all these like real like druggy stuff in there.
What cracked me up is that they have with his boy. So they have this one really cool shot with like a guy have his whole black split open.
Yeah, his whole back split open.
Yeah, like, you wonder like, what was he pointed? Is this like what inside body tattoos? Like, what the hell going on there?
I don't even know.
Like, what are you doing? Like that badass. That looked great. Like, it's like from us just a costume set design. That looked amazing. Like that makeup, like whatever that was. Like, oh, that's impressive. And then they had this really funny moment of two vampires making out, but they have razor blades in their mouth. Look how edgy we are. Literally edgy. Like,
yeah, right. real edgy this way. Even two vampires feeding on some I assume dead woman,
exactly.
human,
yeah. Little things like that. It's like, hey, it's a club, but it's a vampire club, and they make it look gross and weird to creep you out. I mean, work.
Yeah. You have a nice little bit too between Bleed and Reinhardt, where it's like, I have my gun here with my laser beam stick at you. Okay, now I have mine at you, and I just love Reinhardt just laughing like laughing at Chupa, and then Bleed just kind of smiling like, yeah, right. But it's a nice. Go on.
That was a funny scene because he pointed at Blade Black, I think, and then see he just tell him what he got here too now, and you see the light, and you see the gun flip back, and then they have Blade, like the camera just pull out with Blade just being all stoic and a badass in the middle of the club and everybody dancing around him. That be up, Trent.
Even when I saw it in cinema, people were cracking up at that. I love that. Yeah. Right. There's a nice shot actually where you see the camera move down. I think it's from that same shot where you see Blade, stand up stoic, right? And you see in like the subterranean area, you just see like a bunch of Reapers, and you see Darren up, and he just slips on the air that says Daywalker.
Right.
I love that. I just love that line. Just like he was just able to sniff out Blade and know who he is. That is just so awesome, right?
Right.
Yeah. So basically, the blood pack, split up, and one by one they get attacked by Reapers, right? Spuds, Bus and all get attacked as well too, right? And there's a moment where he reaches out to Whistler, but there's a shot where you see his sniper rifle there, but no Whistler, right? So you kind of wonder what's going on, right?
Yeah, they keep misdirecting it with that, yeah.
Yeah. That scene you mentioned earlier, Ashton, with Lighthammer taking his hammer, right? And just bashing the Reaper over the head. It's the neck, sorry, and his kind of twisted back. Yeah, that was really cool, right?
Right. So, and they really established how tough as nails these things are. Eh? Like they're real dangerous and why they're so dangerous. And there's a bunch of great fights and how it clashed together. Yeah.
Even that shot with Snowman and him doing the jump kick and whatnot, and then he sticks one of the Reapers, and then like he legit rips himself off from the sword and climbs up. That is so badass. But it's so badass as well too, right?
I remember people audibly gasped in the theater with that one, John. Like, holy shit, that looked amazing, though. It looked like it didn't look CG at all. Like I didn't know what it was. But he just pulled from it, and then the guts dripping through the legs.
Yeah, it's like one intestine, you see one intestine leaning down.
Leaning down, right? Yeah, and I was like, that can't be CG, though. But it moving too fast to be puppetry, or what you call it? It's slipping my mind right now. But he basically real guts and stuff now, like where they get set now.
Right. Ashton, you were saying?
No, I was saying because Del Toro, that's why.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's Del Toro, like the man, and for me, this was the show that really showed me how much he's into creature effects. Like I haven't seen Mimic in a hot minute, right? So I know there was a lot of like creature effects there, but with Blade 2, that is where we really saw it in full scale, right? So as far as like just kills though, as far as the blood pack goes, Priest is the first one to die basically, right? And it's like for me still one of the best pieces of on-screen vampirism I ever see, Dread. Where you see like the Reaper mouth like completely open, like almost like a Venus flytrap now.
Yeah,
the first time seeing that, like,
yeah, when people see that for the first time, that scare people. That scare rare people in theaters. Like I was I was a friend and she was like melted down with that shit because it's a real dread predator bullshit going down. I'm like, well, wood. Picture effects and this is well damn good dread.
Yeah, and it's even worse now when you see the barb, right? This tongue-like thing, and it just latches onto his neck, like like Jesus, wow, right? Sorry, not his neck. Sorry, oops. There was a wound he had in his head, so like he legit like sticks him in that wound, like jeez, you know what I mean? Like Tama is the second one to get bitten now because like an idiot, he thought the Reaper that he fought was dead, right?
Yeah.
Dumbass.
So, but that's the thing, you would have think you're dead because like you didn't think them thing would have be so tough now.
Yeah, agreed, right? But there's a great moment where like the Reaper attacks him and sticks his claws into his back, right? And like digging into his back there. And then you see like his the Reaper's shoulder blades literally like sticking out though from his skin. Yeah. That scene in particular looked really, really gross too. Like I would like as far as like gross out creature effects go, this show really nails it, right? But luckily, he pull out his gun, start firing shots, he runs out, and then his girlfriend Feline shows up to check up on him, right? And then of course, Lighthammer being who he is, like I'm good, just a scratch, right?
I think he got a bite on his shoulder as well. On his
Yeah, it's like right on the pauldron he had on, so nobody could see.
Right. Yes. Meanwhile, now, so right after like Spud, luckily, stop the Reapers who are attacking his bus now. Whistler shows up, right? Whistler kind of show up to help him out, right? But meanwhile, now we get this decent fight between Bleed and Jarek, right? And that's why I mentioned where he got where Jarek got hit with the Sylvan, Gallic night extract now. And he was still numb to that, which was amazing, right? But I really dug that fight scene, and it's very kung fu movie inspired, especially that sort of like wooden platform that both Bleed and Jarek run on, very kung fu inspired. And just as a fight, I thought that was really dope though. And yes, of course, it had to end with Bleed shooting the window, so daylight comes and he runs out. So
Jared ran out of time. Yeah, he ran out of time because like I don't know what time they get to the club, but they get to the club like 4 a.m. I'm not really sure.
Like in this world, they don't really tell you what time is what, but they always tell you, it's daylight. Daylight comes.
I just assume it's about 4:30 a.m. So like they have about an hour and a half till sunlight come up, whatever. Sunlight has come up in this part of the world.
Yeah, I guess so, right? Yeah. So after the unfortunately they had to kill Priest because Priest was turning, right?
Yeah.
So you see, Spud basically looking at Whistler, accusing him of why leave your post? And you did it on purpose. But Whistler said, according to him, he encounters a Reaper action himself, right? Yeah. So and then he realized that he found out how the Reapers were getting into the club in the first place, right? There was this culvert, and one of them was actually stuck there, so they actually took him. He was trapped there, so they actually took him, right? And then they learned actually that the Reapers need blood every few hours, or else they die, or they'll feed them on themselves. Which is very these vampires are flat out like crack addicts, right? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I like that they said that.
They pipe.
Well, sorry.
I said they're pipers. They pipe it. They need it every day.
There's pipers. The pipers.
Yeah, I like. Well, the scene after this, where they set up how they just work and what they do with it. I love this whole section. Yeah,
that is one of the best scenes, hands down. Boy, this a top seat scene, Jed. It is so gross. It is so disgusting. I would say this is not crowd pleaser. I mean, like, when I saw this in cinema, why people were just like, when you have the jump scare, you always have a jump scare with moments like this, Jed. Yeah, people flip out, you're like, like that, right?
But I just thought it was so cool what they get into all of the biology about it. So like they talk about how like the heart encased in bone. That. But Whistler was like, good luck sticking a stake through that. And then look this part, and then it's like, the body does work even if the body dead because it is relying on an autonomous system. Like,
You see that particular shot though, where they just use like a drip of blood and then the inside is moving. That
and
is
people think that'll shake up. Yeah, And yeah, and this what I like about another thing is Nisa's character, right? She's not some thing. She's a scientist. Like, I like that. There's all these little small things about her. Like, okay, this is what she's really do, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
hey, all of this like really works on how they build it up and thing. And well, it sets up the conceit because like this thing way too good to exist on its own. No way it could operate like this. Something had to be up, and they kind of give up the conceit right here. But you see it later. Yeah, go ahead.
Right. So Blade comes up with a plan, and to me makes a lot of sense. Basically, hunt the Reapers in the daylight, right? Because they realize through the culvert, basically these Reapers, staying in the sewers, right? So the plan is, basically we're gonna go down there in the daylight and we're gonna kill them. So of course the blubber is like, boy, we talk about blah blah blah. Well, these vampires is like, well, shit, I don't care.
Yeah,
it's the only way we can waste them, and I love that. I just love how Blaze is like, if this is what we gotta do this, you know. And then we actually get like a really great moment now where Nisa puts Blade in check, right? Because Nisa noticed earlier on that Blade had to use the serum to keep the tooth at bay, right? The same serum from the first film, right?
Yeah.
And she talks about, well, I was born a vampire, but I accepted that a long time ago. Maybe you should as well, right? And I thought that was just like a great moment though, because this really kind of puts Blade in check, like, oh, why do you hate us so much now? You know what I mean? And Blade is just like, well, it's just a disease. All this need to be removed now. You know what I mean? But what Nisa kind of brings up here is like, you just can't accept your vampirism, right? Even though he is technically half vampire. I love that scene. I don't know if you guys ever in the way.
Blade is a species.
Well, I mean,
it's a species.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So they set this up on the conceit again. They have a little bit of romantic tension with the two of them. They don't really pay it off, but they do it. They set up that with the two of them, but I find she was good, like a great character, like what they did with it. It was like her position where she is, and then like what how she connected to the grander scheme in it. Now I like all of that.
Yeah. So that was daylight now, and now our heroes go into the sewers. They actually come up with a really cool plan. So they have like pheromones that was extracted from the dead Reaper, right? So I think it's from his teeth. Right. One of his
jaws, a gland by the jaw.
A gland.
Yeah.
So basically the Reapers will come to them because the pheromone and all that good stuff, right? Back to Reinhardt being an asshole, boy. So Chupa and Reinhardt and Whistler together though, and they say, oh, okay, well, nobody around, all right, let me sort of fuck up Whistler, Dread. I just start beating up on the poor old guy, Dread, but Chupa's excuse is, oh, well, it's payback because we lost Priest, sorry, we're gonna lose you, right? Oh my god, and Reinhardt is just like, all right, I'm gonna check on your back later, Dread. So such an asshole, right? Lighthammer though, actually, well, at this moment, this is where he turns into a Reaper now, and he proceeds to attack Verlaine, Dread. And it's a shame though, because it's a shame that Snowman dies off screen because Snowman was Lighthammer's first victim, but they don't even show it. You just see Lighthammer just going at this body and just had a kind of squinkle. It's like, oh, that's Snowman or shit, right? But in retrospect, just to talk briefly about Snowman, I felt that they didn't do his character that much justice. Because it's Donnie Yen, man. I mean, not that many people knew about Iron Monkey, as well, like a couple of years later when Hero, still one of my all-time favorite movies. That's where you saw Donnie Yen like in full fashion. By the way, that fight with him and Jet Li is one of the greatest things I've seen in cinema. That music that plays throughout it, boy. Whew. But I know for many people that was like the real introduction to Donnie Yen, boy. But oh gosh, man, this was the guy who was in Once Upon a Time in China too. Like, come on, man, give him justice, bro.
Bro, I tell you, I am a big Asian cinephile. I've been watching Asian movies for so long. So seeing Donnie Yen on screen was like, I know him. Well, everybody else is like, who's this guy? But I feel like they was gonna pay him per word that he said on screen now. So to keep the cost low, they gave him no lines. Just a little Well,
keep the cost low.
That was it.
No, he don't even say anything. That's the thing. He just doesn't say anything, right? But that's back to Lighthammer and Verlaine though. The sacrifice that Verlaine does though is really admirable because she just run up the this ladder up to the culvert itself, opens it up. The sunlight hits her and then actually, well, the sunlight itself also hits Lighthammer as well too. Yeah, like I thought, like as far as a sacrifice too, like yeah, that was great too. All right, so back to the Expendables, right? Assad's death in particular was awesome in my opinion, because he just in like this watery area of the sewer, and just like a bunch of like just a whole squad of Reapers just jump out to the water, pull him down, and like started to devour the guy like in the water. It's like, jeez, way. You know what I mean? Chupa and all too get ripped to shreds. Because a bunch of Reapers just attack him.
Waters, though? That's my question. Because
What's up?
How deep is this sewer water? Because
I know
you
right?
really feel like these men not standing up because they're dragging him down inside the sewer. I never understand that with movies, you know.
Yeah, I don't even think it's like really like in the real world. I don't think they like those areas are that deep as far as water goes, right? Whatever, right? So there's a moment now where all right, so basically, before I forget with Chupa now, how he gets killed is because before he started beating up on Whistler, there's a nice little scene where Whistler just activate this little device, this spray. So yeah, all the Reapers just kind of came on him.
Yeah,
and,
that was really the pheromone spray. He activated it, right? That's what he did.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's a moment afterwards where Reinhardt and Nisa shooting at the Reapers, right? And then Blade now drops one of the most memorable lines in the movie, and because why it's so memorable is because it was in the trailer, and if you remember, in terms of how they have to how they have to do censored versions of certain lines now. So it's like, you obviously do not know who you are fucking with. Yeah. But I remember in the trailer it was whom you are messing with. Yeah. And like when you watch it on like USA or TNT, it's that, right? Who you're messing with, right? But just that line, I mean, it's such a 2000s line though, but it works too. It's just like Blade just like kind of freaking out just a little bit, but in his own Blade way, it's just like, nah, like you all have no clue what they want to know. I mean, but I love that line, right? While all this is going on now, Whistler is confronted by Jarek, who gives him a ring, and then he whispers some secret about Eli, right? And then, Blade now, he runs into Nisa because she's badly hurt during the skirmish, right? And then a nice little moment, he cuts his wrists and he feeds her the blood, right? I like that's a nice little callback to what happened in the first movie with the other the other Gil doing the same thing for Blade when he was when he had his blood being sucked out by Deacon Frost, right? But that moment is cut short now because he sees Jarek on the other side now, and then some Vampire Nation goons now, led by Eli's lawyer, just gang up behind him, sort of. And again, similar to the first film, they have these like electrocuting stick things that they always shock him with. And then Reinhardt come right afterwards too. It's like, God, by Reinhardt, you, right? Even Whistler and all too get stunned as he tried to escape, right? So Nisa wakes up now. She's in Eli's study room, and you really get to establish, because they kind of hit it at first, right? That Nisa and Eli are related, right? But that's when he, you see a close-up of her ring, right? It seems as Jarek's like, oh, okay, there's a relationship thing going on. There's a family thing going on here, right? Meanwhile, Blade wakes up in this team in the Vampire Nation headquarters. Scud and Whistler are there with him. And basically Whistler just tells Blade the info that Nomak told him, right? Where basically Reaper's train was designed by Eli, right? It's like, holy shit, right? And it makes sense as far as, the ascension of the vampire race, right? So essentially, Eli just wanted to design a race of vampires immune to silver and sunlight.
Everything.
And Nomak was just a field experiment. He was just, right. But yeah, the catch is it was actually his son that he did that thing to, right? Which is really, really fucked up, right? Whistler throws Nomak's ring at Eli's feet. And there's basically, we all find out now that, Nomak is Eli's son, right? And there's a nice little twist now where Blade detonates the bomb in Reinhardt Hedner, but it doesn't work now. And it's because Scud pretty much made that dud, right? Yes, Scud was working for Eli all along. Right. Bum. He was a familiar as well.
Okay, so the scene kind of dumb, right? Because he could have just like detonate anyway, Like,
I know.
Yeah. Like, that would be funny anyway. Like, the fake out kind of do this, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you can just kill right out. Like, whatever.
I know, but he's like the main tough guy in the blood pack. So you have to give them a moment together, kind of, right?
Of course.
Scud's motivation kind of sort of makes sense. So he just basically say, well, when these vampires become daywalkers, he'd rather be a pet than cattle.
Right.
I love there's a callback to what Deacon said in Chinatown to Bleed, that, oh, yeah, these humans, why you fighting for them for? They're nothing but cattle, right? That's why he had that moment with the Chinese girl that he throws at Bleed's direction, right? But yeah, there's even better twist that follows, right? It's kind of silly when you think about it now, whereas like, before we get to that moment, Ryan had actually removed the device now and throws it at Scud, right? Who catches, right? So Blade, be the guy that he is like, oh, well, you know what? I've been on to you from the moment you were turned, man.
Yeah.
And also, it's not a dud. And then boom, brilliant. That's it. Audience clap, round of applause, right?
That's another thing, because like, why this explosion so big? Like, you need all that to blow up a head. It done in the back of his head. It's like it.
Yeah, because the whole body goes, and Scott just had this thing in his hand, and the palm of his hand, whole body boom, blows up, you know. Right. So, of course, Blade now gets overpowered by the guards, and he's brought into this lab now where his blood will be harvested and, his body will be studied, because he's a daywalker, right? So they want to know who he is.
Right.
They want
So they want
insults, right?
Basically, the final piece to the puzzle, effectively, to solve, to make this perfect vampire, effectively.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
While all this is going on now, Nomak breaks into the compound. And he just starts wasting guard after guard after guard. He tries to go for the father, and they real play it off like this tragic sort of like Frankenstein kind of story, like father, you created me. Why did you forsake me, father? That kind of stuff. But it worked. They give it a gravitas story.
Yeah, become this big Shakespearean thing all of a sudden. But it's good.
Especially the music that they play is very, very melodramatic, but it works, right? Because
exactly.
Right. Yeah, so Whistler pretty much frees himself from Reinhardt's clutches. So he was handcuffed. He knocks out Reinhardt now, and runs down. He guns down the lawyer. Actually, he does that very well as well too, right? And then he frees Blade, right? So he's severely weakened at this point. Right? Of course, Blade being Blade, and it being a comic book movie, he's like, blood. Like he's literally telling Whistler, I need blood. It's one of those comic book things. You just had to shut up and roll with it, right? Whatever, right? So Whistler carries Blade back to the chamber, and and of course, because it's about blood and all that kind of stuff. There's a pit filled with blood, right? So Blade literally has to kind of force himself to fall into the pit, right? Because he was at this he was actually in this above there,
Right.
He was above the chamber. Sorry.
Reinhardt started to shoot at him. I think I forget where
he did it, right?
Yeah, right.
And it's a kind of a callback to the first film, because if you remember, there was a moment where the doctor had a gun and she was shooting at the vampires themselves, and then there was a moment where Blade dropped. That famous shot where he flipped and dropped down and said, Frost! So it's kind of like a callback to that there, but in this case, it's him falling into the pit, right? So yeah, Reinhardt is firing at him. At that point in time, Reinhardt has Blade's shotgun, and he has his sword as well too, right? Yeah. So he thought he hit Blade there, but the moment he hit the pit itself, right? But it's a nice shot where Blade actually rises off from that pit with blood over him, right? And it's a nice little contrast, because there's a moment where you saw Eli beating in another pit of blood, right?
Right.
And he has this nice robe on, and there's a nice shot where you see the robe and stuff. It's a little precursor to what you see with the what's this guy's name by the Rasputin character in the first Hellboy movie. It's okay, Doctor, right. I see you, right? So yeah, so right after Blade rises up for the pit now, we get what is, in my opinion, the best scene in the movie.
Of course.
This is just a straight up ass kicking scene, Jed.
Yeah.
The music, perfect. The fight choreography, perfect. Wesley is just such a badass in this, Jed.
Yeah.
He gave a man a suplex, Jed. Every time I see that, I was like, what? We saw that in cinema. Audience roared that in the movie. It's like, what?
Yeah, because it's like one thing.
Suplex, dog.
Because that's the thing, because at this point, the Matrix was still controlling the paradigm, so everybody was doing the martial arts thing. But it's hey, you could mix it up and bring in other fighting styles, and we just straight up get WWE, WWF. It was WWE yet, WWF style wrestling. In the project, it would.
Yo, It's Blade, it's just Blade 2 awesomeness, right? I was not, I was not about to say? I was about to say, guys, in fact, there is no Blade 3. It's Blade 1, Blade 2, that Blade 3 and Blade TV show, just forget about it. But every fight scene in the show, I find, as Matthew said earlier, it had a lot of martial arts callbacks in it when he was fighting with, what's the guy's name? Jared. When he's fighting with Jared, that was a sick scene. In fact, I think like scenes like that were only possible because of Wesley Snipes being so deep into martial arts that they found it necessary to even add more martial arts into the movie.
Yes.
Martial arts type scenes, and the fact that you could tell the contrasting styles. Like Jared was using a very strong stance and style that requires more strength than it does finesse, so it doesn't look pretty, but it's very, very aggressive and fast. In fact, I'd say it was kind of like a Krav Maga kind of style of fighting. You want to grapple a little bit and throw the man a little bit and then jump on him, hit him up. Good movie. Right. Can't say enough good things about Blade 2, bro. Like honestly, Blade 3 almost like killed everything that they worked so hard for, because Blade 1 was sick and then Blade 2 improved on Blade 1. Very rare that very rare in my books that sequels improve on a movie. But to me, Blade improved on itself. And then that Blade 3 and just shit down yourself totally is disgusting. It's disgusting.
So right after that kick-ass action scene, I love Reinhardt's response to all this. Like my daddy said before he killed my mom, you want anything done right, you gotta do it yourself. Yeah. I just love that as a response to all that scene, right? And then he says, he also said that's when he he actually put the shotgun down and he pulled up the sword down.
Right.
And then you see, he also said it then he was
trying to strike him,
try to strike him, and then Blade holds the actual blade itself, right?
Classic.
Now this is a very samurai thing. That's what it classic. Very samurai, right? Him holding it and literally pulling it up with his arms, literally force it up there, and then somehow he's able to just he slides one of his hands, knocks it out of Reinhardt's hands. Sword flips to the air. Sorry, he happens to catch it and then he catches it now. Sorry, and split Reinhardt in two.
Yeah,
that is just such a blatant samurai tribute. I love it. It's so it logically don't really make that much sense, but then again, if you've seen samurai flicks that do shit like this, it's like it had, right?
Yeah, don't yourself. Don't pick up blade sword if it fall on the ground. You understand? Number one thing, don't mess with the man's sword. He'll chop off your hand without doing nothing else. Because
exactly
that's right. It was the hilt of the sword that chop off his hand.
No, that was the first one. That happened this one? No, I don't think so. Because he did that. He flicked the thing and he saw it earlier when he was.
Yes. It didn't catch him.
No, that was the first one. When he was messing around with Whistler and roughing him up a little bit. It's like, okay. He didn't do that. But in this time, Blade just grabbed the blade. He just didn't take that blade without wash him out like that. He underestimated, but he just get cut in half. And it looked real true.
I want to go and watch Blade 2 right after this.
Yeah, I gave it a rewatch right before. I gave it a rewatch yesterday or day before, I think. Just for this. Yeah, it's like I forget how much fun this movie was.
I know it is.
I just want to go on record and say one thing. When Black Panther came out and everybody was like, finally a first black superhero.
Yeah,
thank you for bringing that up. Yeah,
bro, no one I knew said that.
Enough black superheroes before. I mean, granted, not everybody had a great movie, but they were there. Steel, out Meteor Man. I sure there's a Meteor Man comic that I've never heard of, unrelated to the movie. And then Blade.
Blade is like the more noticeable one. I think a lot of people really wanted an African superhero. So when they say black people, they mean black African.
That is my point now. Do you understand? People wanted an African superhero, not a black superhero. They just wanted
an American black superhero.
Yeah, Big up to all the African people listening to the podcast right now. I mean, we mean no disrespect, right?
Yeah, big up, right? And we get this really silly moment. Back in 2002, I didn't care. That was when Whistler chose Blade Shades, though.
Classic.
And he just catch it so easy and put it on in slow mo.
It's like it's the audience hype up for that. I love it. It's totally a CG shot, because he throw it. It's a weird cutter. He throw it and then it cut and basically just teleported the hand. It's like, oh wow. wow.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
looks fun. And then boy just put it on. It's like, all right,
it looks so goofy way, but
Yeah.
it works. It totally works, right?
Yeah.
So right after, right? So basically, Eli trying to flee the scene, right? Him and well, Nisa, right? Well, she kind of reluctantly have to go because father, daughter, right?
No, well, she right.
So
So she sets him up. She's the one who set him up and say, look, we can't continue this. And she's the one who closed the doors on him.
Yes.
Even
But
she was trying to run.
She disabled the doors or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Because it's actually like alongside this heliport.
It's a flight deck, right? Yeah.
A flight deck, right? Yeah, basically, right. So this gives enough time for Nomak to show up, right? And again, going back to the whole tragic Shakespearean thing now, they have this father-son conversation. And it's like, hug me. Well, he doesn't say hug me, but basically it ends with Eli hugging his son, and well, Nomak's like, yeah, fuck that, and he bites his father, but in hindsight, right? I get what they're going for, like, in a real Shakespeare kind of thing. The son kills the father and all that kind of stuff, right? But him biting his father, and then when the father basically bleeds out and dies, like, I don't know, like, logically, you think it right, as a vampire. Okay, so one bite, he just bleeds out and then dies just so.
Well,
he doesn't bleed out. It is like some black blood comes out and then he just dies and turns his stone for real. So
he pretty damn old, Like, you get a feeling that he just, like, any little scratch go rob him out, even if he's a vampire. Like, even vampires, like, age, like, they have to still be super weak. So, like, Nomak just bite his neck off for the kill now. Like, because vampires don't have to convert you. They can just bite you to kill you. Like, I get that. That's how I see it. Like, he real old. He real old.
Yeah. And it was establishing that. Like,
right. They could just kill you one time with a bite.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly, right? So Nisa now, she's like, well, you know what? Well, if he's family, I guess you gotta bite me, right? So Nomak about to do it. And he actually does do it, actually, but then Bleed kind of shows up and then they duke it out, right? Yeah. So here, like, while this is not my favorite fight in the movie, though, it is, I would say, just so kick-ass and so
it's a power fight.
Terror.
Yeah, it's a super power fight. So, Blade already souped up by all that blood being repaired, and well, Nomak is Nomak being a badass, and you see how strong Nomak is. There's a great moment where he breaks his hand, and then Nomak
and then he cracks it back.
Cracks it back, and then hit him in the back. I love that. With the elbow. Yeah, that was badass. And then
that was so awesome.
It has a great part where he hit him on the ground and then Nomak just climbs. And well, little crappy CG.
Elbow drop the man,
elbow drops on, like, but why get the people's elbow? Yes,
like, he moves, bro. Yeah.
And straight up, hit him, dread people's elbow one time, like I would. Like that little things like that I really appreciate it. Like, it's a little brawler moves there. Like,
at this point in the film, I Del Toro, it was just like, let me just go all out for this. This is the last fight, guys. Let me just go all in, right? And I would say, like, as far as integrating the VFX with the real, fight choreography, this works a lot better than the Blade and Nisa fight early on in the film. This works way well. You could tell, it's CG Blade and CG whoever, but they work it back, especially like there's moments where you see Blade in the air, like he click a punch, but then when he lands and he always kind of works himself back up, it's Wesley, right? So they do that well enough, right? And it pretty much ends with Blade taking, his swords got broken, sorry. So he took the blade, actually sticks Nomak by the side, and then sticks it even further now, so it cracks the bone and hits him in the heart.
Right, well, they mentioned this earlier. They say how it's entirely cased, the heart is entirely cased but it have a little opening on the side. They mentioned that.
Yes.
So, like, it would be really difficult to stab him from the front, but you could, like, if you could find the space, you could make it work. But, like, again, they didn't really perfect the because Eli didn't perfect the heart thing. It's not completely encased. However, it was like, whatever the trade-off is, they had to use with biology.
Yeah, but a nice kill though, and also like there's a moment where I forgot what Nomak says there, but there's a nice little shot in the end where he's dying and his mouth open, and you just see this light coming, like you could tell it's from his throat basically. Like, I always thought that was like a nice shot.
Well, so well, he kind of gave up because he finished himself off, right? He killed himself at the end. He's like, I don't have nothing else for me. Like, I do.
Yeah, so bye.
And he just
even food and
right. And but that's the same effect because it's the same silver, the same fire silver. So the reaction from the tin's body comes out. Yeah, okay. Like, all of this consistent for the most part.
Exactly.
Like, regardless of how you feel about Del Toro, like, yeah, he's really get that like mechanics and the world building consistent. Like, all of his movies do the monster so well, and you really get a sense of monsters can live in this world because you really get a good sense of biology in it. You know, he did it with Pacific Rim as well, like really excellent stuff. Like, you get a sense of, yeah, you can have a whole book with this fake creature. Like, I love that. Yeah, you can't go wrong with that.
Agreed, right? So Blade now tends to Nisa, and you know, there's a nice this moment actually like really like beautiful, come to think of it, right?
Yeah,
where she says, you know, she she wants to see the sun, you know what I mean? Because she knows she's gonna die anyway. She knows there's nothing left for her, right? And he actually like takes her out. He doesn't really say anything, which is nice. And just that visual effect of like her dying and you just seeing like her skin like flaking off.
It still looks great.
It looks great though, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And something a shot I thought wouldn't hold up because I remember this being like the big final shot on any movie. Like
with him looking at the sunlight, at the daylight.
And I was thinking, wait, it's not gonna hold up because, you know, like National Cinema, you know, screening shit back then and be able to get away with that bullshit back then. But like on my, 4K monitor, blah blah blah, I could see all the flaws. It holds up. It's a really good
shot. Look great.
Yeah, I was surprised how well done this green screen shot is. Like, oh, well done. I can't believe that. Like, shocking. It holds up.
Yeah. It does, right? Now to cut to the finale now. So we in London now. The loose end is back, so he's in this sex club now, so he gained up to watch some live entertainment, right? This is just such a movie thing. So, you know, he goes to this booth, right? And as he about to go now, as he like comes on, don't ask me what he doing there. You know, the movie wrapping up, so it's like it doesn't matter, right? The movie's done, right? Bleed is there, and he's like, you didn't think I forgot about you, did you? And then he pull out his sword and sticks him in the head, and he cut to black. And I hear the most step song, and I'm not in my head. I'm like, yes, right?
Yeah.
So,
I believe for the vampires, that was our next way for them to go and feed now. At the end there, that was our next feeding for them.
Exactly right. You're just
okay.
Somebody, some nobody. But like you're going some room.
I see the man pulling out like 4 tissues. I thought
it's like a big set. Yeah, weird. Yeah, we're sure. It's a different type of fluid was going passing through it.
Yeah, but in retrospect, I mean, it's not the strongest way to end the film though, but it is pretty much just saying, hey, Blade is back to doing what he does best. It's not we need to follow up on that one joke from Act 1 back like 10 minutes, whatever. It's just Blade doing his thing, right? So yeah, so overall, this final total reading, this is a solid film though. I had a blast revisiting this film. Sorry, I would make the argument that yes, this is the better of the first, between the first two Blade films. It is easily the best film in the trilogy, bar none. This for me, when my eyes were open to Del Toro and what he was capable of doing. So yeah, when Hellboy 1 and 2 came out, I went and saw those theatrically as soon as, right? Yeah. And yeah, I mean, y'all know, I mean, Guillermo del Toro is one of my favorite directors, like all time right now, right? And just the mere fact that he just stuck with this. I love monsters, I love fantasy, and this is where I'm going to go with it, right? So, and the rest is history, right? Wesley Snipes kill it again as Blade, though. Just the choreography alone, though, and just in hindsight, though, he was just casting him as Blade was just perfect. So that's why for me now, I know it's the same thing for you guys. I a little concerned as to what Mahershala Ali gonna bring to the table because I mean, he had the look down, fine, but dude had a fight.
That's the thing. I really know because remember I was on from a long time I was saying that he had to get somebody younger to do it. So a lot of people wanted Trevante Rhodes or somebody like Yelan Noel or somebody like that now. So I don't know. I still not too feeling the as I say he's a little too old for my because he gonna be pushing 50, when I come out.
Okay, I thought he's still in it. I thought he's like mid-40s.
That's exactly what I was saying, Ricardo. 50.
Yeah. He's gonna be pushing 50, Like it's kind of insane, Like a little too old. Sorry, I don't know how they're gonna do this.
No, look. Blade's supposed to have. Well, the new Blade's supposed to come in next year, so I think the MCU could find somebody quick, to replace Mahershala. Well, just trade it out here.
50 just be good.
What's like just trade out here, and then maybe have the Mahershala Ali play the Whistler character.
That's
or older version of Blade or something.
That's why I thought that he gonna play the older. Like when I heard he gonna be in Blade, like this is before the big announcement in the Comic-Con. When I heard he was gonna be like because there's that scuttlebutt was going on for a while now. They're gonna be in Blade. I was like, you gonna play Blade? or you're gonna be Whistler. Well, not Whistler, because Whistler is made up for the movies. Like Whistler is not a comic character, right? But like they're probably gonna go closer to the comics, and they're probably gonna play. I forget the character's name, but there's a black character, so it's like a black elder character as well. So you're gonna play that character, maybe? Not sure. But as Blade itself, I still, whatever, we will see. I don't know what I mean, the MCU does flounder at times, but it mostly has come true. So I don't know what they're going to do. Whatever.
And this last point I want to make before I get to Rita, and then we'll get to Ashton's thoughts on the movie and, Mahershala Ali, right? So sorry for interrupting here, right? But for me, after watching Blade 2 again, my concern is just that dark world that, these movies establish so well, right? How is it going to be translated to something like the MCU? Of course, you could say, well, there was the TV stuff, like the Daredevils and the Luke Cages and all that kind of stuff. But I'm talking about, like, just brutal, R-rated, violent world of the Blade trilogy. How is that going to translate into the MCU trend? I don't think it'll be, I don't think it will be translated very well, but I guess we'll see. I don't think that, Blade, well, obviously Blade's, no, from what I hear, Blade's not going to be R-rated, it's going to be PG-13. So I just a little concerned here. But yeah, I mean, in terms of just like violence and blood and all that kind of stuff, this is what the trilogy did so well. So I don't know. I just feel like the essence will be lost with this new version here. But I guess you'll see next year or the following year.
The thing is that, look, the movies was a specific aesthetic and a look, like it was very different from what the comic was going for. So that's why I'm not expecting anything like these films. These films do their own thing. You leave it as it is. It's kind of like the Nolan Batman movies. It does its own thing. Like just treat it like that. Is that thing exactly? That's why the MCU gonna do their own thing with it. Look, again, the MCU they're floundering right now, kind of, because they really have they kind of aimless right now, to be frank. But like with this, I expect them to do something solid. Like what are they gonna do with it, making it work? I don't know. We'll see. Time will tell.
Yeah. So that being said, this and the first movie still remain two of my I would say both Blade and Blade 2 remain two of my all-time favorite guilty pleasure movies, right? I'm not gonna say there's some kind of like critically acclaimed stuff that you should be studying in film schools. No, they're just solid pieces of action cinema, right? I would say if you have nothing to do on a Friday or Saturday night, I actually watch Blade 2 on a Friday night. Totally work for me, right? But if you have nothing to do on a Friday or Saturday night, kick back, relax, and watch this film, Dread, and watch the first film. Hell, like I actually did this before in closing. Do a back-to-back trend. Watch Blade 1 and Blade 2 back-to-back. Trust me, it works, right? Say rating-wise, as a guilty pleasure, this gets a strong 4 out of 5 for me, man. Ashton, your final thoughts, rating, and where you think this MCU Blade will play out.
All right. So when it comes to Blade 2, I just want to say it's, for me, a 4.5 out of 5 fangs. I think that's fair enough.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. Blade 2, in my eyes, was a comic book action masterpiece for me personally, and I would deny anybody to tell me that wasn't a masterpiece. People that probably tell me that probably don't like Wesley Snipes as an actor, or they don't like somebody specific as an actor, but that's not a good enough reason to me, not liking an actor is not a good enough reason, because I always say this. Actors are paid to act, and they can be a different person today as a different person tomorrow, So that's just my opinion on that. What's this man's name, boy? I'm gonna speak wrong.
Mahershala Ali. Trust me, at a point in time, it was hard for us to even pronounce that man's name, boy.
I know him from 4400, so I remember it from since then.
Matthew, what's his man's name?
Mahershala Ali.
That guy's name, basically, I think he's too old to be Blade, because what's he gonna do? Like one, maybe two and a half movies, maybe, and then it has to end because he's too old. People can be 50 today, and then all of a sudden their body is saying 60 in like a year or two, just from aging and whatnot, and also being 50.
Not everyone's Tom Cruise, not everybody is Tom Cruise.
Not everybody have that Scientology money, you know what I mean? Is all that Scientology have him so invincible? But just saying in general, you know what I mean? Like, get some young blood. That way you can flesh out a Blade movie franchise, and you could also plan for it. You don't have to rush it down. You don't have to feel like you release a Blade movie this year, by next year, you had to have the announcement for the second Blade movie 2 years after. No. You could have a Blade movie, and then 3 years after, you could drop the next Blade movie or something like that. Because the actor that you're going to choose is going to be able to, grow into the role. But just getting a big, quote unquote, getting a big name with Mashral.
Mr. Ali. Just call it Mr. Ali.
Yeah, I was not about to go there with Mr. Ali. Is that, yeah, while I've seen him and stuff and he's good, and while, yes, they do make him look like Blade in all the mock-ups, you can make anybody look like Blade. They made Sticky Fingers look like Blade, albeit a terrible Blade. Still,
yeah.
Right? Anybody can be Blade. So put some time into it. Don't just jump into it and be like, yo, capitalize off of this. But, at the end of the day, I say that, but this is an industry made to make money. Entertainment is the second thought. But, so that's me on Blade 2. Blade 2, masterpiece. If you haven't seen Blade 2, I think that either you're very young or you just was never into it, but I would suggest that you watch Blade 2. Very good movie. You don't even need, and you don't need to watch Blade 1 really to watch Blade 2. Doesn't make sense.
I disagree, but
you don't really need to. You don't really need to. Is what I say.
True. Yeah, which is a testament to how great of a sequel this is, huh?
Yeah. As I say, as far as sequels go, smashed it.
Yeah. All right. So to close things off, Ricardo, final thoughts, rating, and what you hope for with the MCU version of Blade.
Yeah, action cinema, at its best, in my opinion. I just really enjoyed it. It is a product of its time. It's a lot of it doesn't hold up. It more appeals to a younger version of me that was just laughing at dumb bullshit back then. But yeah, it works. It just so entertaining, so funny. Del Toro really puts a great vision onto it. For me personally, I just love all the biology stuff and just really solid world building. And overall decent script for what it is and what it's trying to do. Yeah, rating, I give it like an 8 out of 10 for what it was. It didn't evolve into the action cinema of the 2010s. Like, it's not that. It's just product at its time. Stay there, loud, ridiculous, characters being cringy for some reason, but, they think they're being cool. Like all those shows back in those times. Anybody remember, like the early Fast and Furious movies or...
yeah.
Remember that? Where's the bicycle version of Fast and Furious? That bullshit.
Oh, Talk. Yeah.
Is that?
I went to the to watch Talk by the way.
Is that right? Is that nonsense, right? Yeah, everybody. But yeah, it still works and for what it is. I can't say it hold up in good conscience, but it still works. And I have a lot of fun with it. Yeah, as for the MCU stuff, I really don't know what they're going to do with it or how they're going to make it work as it is, given Mahershala Ali's age. But look, CG way better than it is nowadays, so we go find out. And the thing is that, look, I am a big fan of the Raid Redemption. I want Raid Redemption type stuff. That's why I want with respect to, action stuff with Blade and vampires. But they're gonna do their own spin with it. So, but my only issue is that, the man kind of old. They could have got a younger actor, to be frank. But whatever, moving on.
Yeah, moving on.